Hello subscribers, here is another review, and this time it's the Mattel Jurassic World Primal Attack Soundstrike Edmontosaurus. Now this was one figure I was quite excited for when I first saw it, mainly because it's the first time we're seeing an Edmontosaurus in a Jurassic toy line. Now in my opinions video, I said that the promo images made it look like it had cheap plastic, but having the figure in hand, the plastic is actually quite durable, so that's a good thing. So let's take a look at the packaging first. You got, of course, the awesome Primal Attack packaging. Probably probably my second favorite of the Mattel Jurassic World packagings. The Camp Cretaceous one looks to be the best. So here's the back. Of course, you got the picture of the figure, and the other Soundstrike dinosaurs are in the assortment. So let's waste no time and get the Edmontosaurus out of the box. Here is the Edmontosaurus out of the packaging, and I have to say, this figure looks great. It's one of my new favorites for the Primal Attack line. Now, I think the overall sculpt and proportions for this figure, I'd say, in my opinion, it's one of the best. See, there's no oversized feet, no oversized head, no tiny tail. Everything looks appropriately sized. Now, as always on this channel, we'll be taking a look at the detailing. As you can see, there's a decent amount of detail on this Edmontosaurus. It's not as good as, say, the Sarcosuchus or Tarbosaurus, but you can see the sculpted lines all across the body and all the muscles. As you can see, this is one swole dinosaur. You can also see the ridges on the back and the tail. Here's the other side of the figure. Same amount of details, and then the bottom. See, of course, smooth underbelly, and then you got the nicely sculpted scaly hands and feet right there. So you got the head right there. Typical duck-billed dinosaur. Undoubtedly that of an Edmontosaurus. Of course, it's got, the crest, which, the dinosaur is known for. So yeah, it's a very nicely sculpted head, with the exception of the unfortunate shrink wrapping. So that's about it for the details. Pretty good. Now let's see how many points of articulation this toy has. See, you can move the head. You can move the arms, the legs, and the tail, which is part of the action feature. So that makes 6 points of articulations. Now, speaking of the action feature, we'll take a look at that right now. Of course, the theme of Primal Attack is gimmicks activated by the tail. Now, like all sound strikes, you move the tail, and then, the head moves. Now, the sound effects is one issue that people have with this figure, and it bothers me. Now, let's take a look at those sound effects. Yeah, that sound effect was fine, because, it actually sounded like, a roar a herbivore would make. That sound effect was fine. I don't really mind that. Yeah, that was an Indoraptor sound. Because I don't know why they would use an Indoraptor for a herbivore. A more appropriate sound effect for this figure would probably be, the roar of the Triceratops or Stegosaurus from, the Lost World Jurassic Park. Now let's see if there's any more sound effects. Yep, that was another Indoraptor roar, unfortunately. Yeah, I think that was all the sound effects. Don't know why they chose to do Indoraptor sounds for this figure. It's very lazy. They could have, did better sound effects for this figure, like I already said. Now, I think that this figure is more aesthetically pleasing than some of the other figures in the Primal Attack line. See, the paint job isn't too cartoony. It looks fairly naturalistic. A color scheme an animal would have in real life. And see, like I said before, the proportions are very good. And see, the eyes aren't as cartoonish, because some of the other Primal Attack figures, they have at least one feature that makes them look cartoony. The Krylophosaurus having play school-esque colors, the Sarcosuchus having a cartoonish eye, and the Tarbosaurus having dragon spikes. This figure doesn't have any of that, fortunately. Now, I would like to address a few issues with this figure. Now, one, like I already said, are the Indoraptor roars, and a second is the size. Now, we know that Edmontosaurus was a very big duck-billed dinosaur. It was as big, if not bigger, than T-Rex. And another issue is the toes right here. Now, Hadrosaurs like Edmontosaurus had 3 toes, not 4 toes. Now, like, I'm sort of fine with this, because, you know, these are just, these dinosaurs are just clones, but at the same time, they should have gotten, you know, the basic anatomy correct. It's like giving a Tyrannosaur 3 fingers. Now let's start comparing Edmontosaurus to some other figures. So as you can see, we've got the Dino Rivals Dual Attack Parasaurolophus. As you can see, Parasaurolophus is more vibrant than Edmontosaurus. And I see Edmontosaurus is slightly larger, and I do like this figure more. This figure is decent, not really my favorite Mattel dinosaur though. So speaking of ornithopods, let's bring in the Primal Tachylovosaurus, which I still think is the best ornithopod Mattel has released so far. Hopefully they make a Chordosaurus in the future. Now we've got the Edmontosaurus next to the Soundstrike Krylophosaurus. And the Edmontosaurus is the better of these two sculpts for Primal Attack. And this figure right here could use a better paint job. I do not like this abysmal Play School color scheme right here. Now let's put this Edmontosaurus next to 2 other Primal Attack figures, which is the Attack Pack Ornitholestes and Basic Spinosaurus. As you can see here, Edmontosaurus is living in fear of the massive biters Tarbosaurus and Sarcosuchus. Last but not least, here's the Soundstrike Edmontosaurus next to the Collectae Minisophacinus. Well, there you have it, guys. This is my review on the Mattel Jurassic World Primal Attack Soundstrike Edmontosaurus. Now, I do recommend you guys picking up this figure. You know, a nice paint job, very nice sculpt and proportions. And also, this is one of the few ornithopod dinosaurs that we got from a Jurassic Park toy line. I think Walmart has these figures, and so does Target. Well, I haven't seen this figure at Target yet, but they carry Soundstrike, so they should be carrying him eventually. Now, if I had to give this figure a rating, probably have to give it an 8 out of 10. A few things I could fix is, of course, the Indoraptor roars, and also another issue I forgot to point out is the hypersensitive electronics. So yeah, just, you know, moving the head or tail slightly will trigger the sound effects, which is, you know, annoying. So if you guys like this review, leave a comment, like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.